If you have ever come upon a chain link fence, this is what you will hear. Stop. Halt. No trespassing. You may not go beyond me. That's what you will hear. That's what I will hear. That's not what a 12-year-old boy will hear. No, when a 12-year-old boy comes upon a chain link fence, what he hears is this. Hey, bet you can't climb me. Bet you don't know what's on the other side of me. I dare ya. Now, let me just say that, in my opinion, 12-year-old boys are a different genus and species than any other creature on this planet. And the reason I could say that with such certainty, I was once a 12-year-old boy. Now, when I was a kid, growing up, I loved being outside. I loved the woods, the forest, the fields. Unfortunately, in the town where I grew up, we didn't have woods, forests, fields. We had municipal parks, and they were okay. But we did have this little patch of wilderness that we called Davy's Woods. Now, I don't know who Davy was. I don't know who owned Davy's Woods. It was just there, bordered on one side by the exit ramp of the Garden State Parkway, and on the other side by Glendale Cemetery. And I'd go down there anytime I wanted to climb trees and wade across an ice-cold brook. Now, one day, my buddies and I walked down to Davy's Woods, and we stopped short. What the? Someone had erected a giant chain link fence right on the woods road that led into the woods. Now, we knew we could go down to the cemetery, cross the cemetery, go down the hill, the back way into Davy's Woods, but nah. The fence wasn't going to stop us. There was no fence that could stop me when I was 12 years old. No fence, short or tall. No, we went right up and over. Now, one day, my cousin Donnie was down from the country. He lived up in the country on a farm. He was born on a farm, raised on a farm, worked on a farm. And my cousin Donnie, he was the coolest guy I knew. You see, he could milk a cow by hand. Not only could he milk a cow by hand, he could grab that cow's udder, aim it expertly, squeeze it, and hit you right in the eye. My cousin Donnie, he could shoot a .22 rifle. My cousin Donnie, he could drive the family's great big orange Alice Chalmers farm tractor. So he came down from the country to visit one day, and my cousin Jan and I, we decided to take him down and show him Davy's Woods. So we got down to that great big chain link fence, and I was the first one to jump on it. I scrambled to the top and I hopped right over. Now, I must have been showing off a bit, because when I hopped over the top, I slipped. And as I was coming down, my left hand instinctively grabbed a hold of those links, but my right arm, as it was coming over, got snagged by one of those barbs at the top. Now, if you know anything about these chain link fences, the new ones, those chains, they go up to the top and they go over a bar or a long pipe, and they intertwine, they cross, and then those barbs are tucked down. Not so with the old ones. Those barbs are left open like this, and they're sharp and thick. And so my right arm was coming down, and one of those barbs impaled my wrist. Now, I was hanging on with my left hand, and I was kicking at the fence with my Keds sneakers, trying to get a toe hold. I knew I couldn't let go because I could feel the pressure of that barb in my wrist. Now, my cousin Donnie instinctively knew what to do. He analyzed the situation quickly, jumped onto that fence, climbed up, grabbed my arm, lifted it, and then let me down. Well, I sat on the ground on the other side of my fence and I looked at my wrist. Whoa. Now, if you're squeamish, it's okay. I survived. And it wasn't really, really bad. It could have been worse. But I had a big gash in my wrist right here. And you know that big vein that runs down your arm, right down your forearm, and crosses right at the wrist? I could see it. Now, I was lucky. If that had been snagged and ripped, I don't know what the outcome would have been that day. It would have been bad. But I could see that blue vein there. Now, by this time, my cousins had run through the cemetery, had come around. My cousin Jan, God bless him, he said, "I'll take off my sock and you could wrap it around." He was already untying his shoe, and I didn't think that was a good idea. I said, no, Jan, I'll just hold my wrist real tight like this. Well, they helped me to my feet, got me out to the sidewalk, and walked me home. When my dad took a look at it, he scuttled me right into our station wagon and drove me to Dr. Ostrowski's office down on Broad Street. Dr. Ostrowski cleaned it up, stitched it up, bandaged it, and then sent me home. There's an epilogue to this story. About 2 weeks, 10 days, 2 weeks later, I'm working in the store. Now, the store is what my siblings and I called our family business. In actuality, it was Hilltop Food Market, 220 Hoover Avenue, Bloomfield, New Jersey, Pilgrim 39878. I had that memorized from the time I was a little kid. So I'm working in the store when my dad gives me an order. "Kenny, go in the kitchen, sit at the kitchen table." Huh? That was odd. Usually his directions were, scrape the butcher blocks, put some sawdust down on the wood floors behind the butcher blocks, wait on customers, stock the shelves, take the empty deposit bottles down to the basement. Sit at the kitchen table? But I didn't question him. My dad was a busy guy. Every morning at 7 o'clock, he'd put on his snow white butcher's apron, and he didn't take it off till 9 o'clock every night when it was dirtied and stained. And if you started questioning him, he had no time. He would say something like, "Listen, there are only two ways to do anything, the right way and the wrong way. Do it the right way." And I would be left to try to figure out which way was the right way. So I followed his direction. I walked into our apartment, our adjoining apartment. The kitchen was right there. And the first thing I noticed when I walked into the kitchen was my dad's first aid kit, his khaki canvas army first aid kit that he had brought back from World War II, where he was a medic. It was unrolled right on the kitchen table. The second thing I noticed, on our gas stove was a little pot of water, and it was boiling. I looked into it to see a small pair of sharp surgical scissors and a stainless steel silver pair of tweezers. Well, now I heard my dad, so I sat at the kitchen table. Well, he came in and went straight to the kitchen sink and grabbed a big bar of ivory soap. He lathered up his hands, he scrubbed his nails, and then he wiped them off with a clean dish towel and sat opposite me. "Dad, what are you doing?" "I'm going to take your stitches out." "You're going to take my stitches out?" "Yes." "Isn't Dr. Ostrowski going to take my stitches out?" My father stopped and looked at me. "Dr. Ostrowski? He'll charge $5, maybe $10. Now sit still and be quiet." So I sat still. I remained quiet while my father poured some alcohol on my dirtied stitches. And And then he took that pair of surgical scissors and he snipped one of the stitches. He took the tweezers and he zipped the stitch right out. Ooh, that tickled. He snipped, zipped, snipped, zipped, snipped, zipped, snipped, zipped. He took all the stitches out, put a little more alcohol on it, examined it. Okay, you're good. Get in the store and bag up some potatoes. So, without questioning, without complaining, I went into the store and I bagged up some potatoes. So if you ever see me with a glazed over look on my eyes, as if I'm far, far away, and you see me rubbing this wrist with these fingers, I am in a place far, far away, a time long, long ago. I'll just be revisiting the day that a 12-year-old boy had a confrontation with a chain link fence.